One.
Mario Party Battle Royale. That's the topic that we're talking about today. Welcome to the HTC podcast, where we pack 15 days worth of content into just an hour. This week, I am your host, Ron, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts, Jeffrey Louie and Thach.
What up?
Yo.
And what's up, guys? As always, before we start, we always want to give a big shout out to Anchor, our sponsor for this podcast. They've been holding it down for us here on the HTC podcast for about 25 episodes since the beginning, so it's pretty cool. But definitely shout out to them. Thanks for sponsoring this episode. And of course, we are on YouTube. If you've missed the latest live stream, you can catch us on youtube.com/Hyperbolic Time Chamber, or you can just look up the Hyperbolic Time Chamber podcast. We're on YouTube. So if you want to see the last week's episode and you're more of a visual person, you can check out the latest episode there. But yeah, other than that, we're going to get into it. So yeah, what's up, boys? How you guys doing? How you doing?
Living life, surviving.
Awesome. Yep. Sounds
summer,
good.
man.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a hot
Surviving
summer.
the
It's going to be
days.
Yep, it's going to be a hot summer, a long summer. I think it's like 100 degrees today or something like that.
Yeah.
So it is officially summer.
That's true.
And today's my last day of vacation. I have to go back to work tomorrow.
Oh,
Back in the heat.
man. Dang.
And it's the
Hey.
worst
Oh, well.
time right now. It's so hot.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be good, man. It'll be good. Tomorrow it'll drop down to 80.
Good,
It'll be
good.
nice,
Okay.
hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah, today was like
Yeah.
100. But
Yeah.
we digress.
crazy. Yep. But yeah, so this week it's been kind of lighter on the gaming news, but not Nintendo, PlayStation. PlayStation came out with their state of play. It's I think their third one in 3 months, so they've been doing it pretty often and pretty consistently. But this week they highlighted all of their third-party / indie developers. So it's pretty cool. And one of the big things that we saw this conference was Crash 4 gameplay, which was pretty dope. And so Crash 4, if you guys are thinking about it, this is the official canon Crash 4. There has been a
Nice.
Crash 4 in the past, but this is canonical Crash 4. So the other Crash 4 is technically non-canon. This one is called Crash 4. It's about time, I believe.
Mhm.
But yeah, so this one is focusing on, of course, Crash Bandicoot and Coco, his sister. But this is going to be a first, as they talked about playing as somebody other than Crash Bandicoot in a main Crash game. And I bring up Coco because she is actually going to be a playable character in Crash 4, which is super cool. Hasn't been done before. I think in Insane Trilogy, they touched on it, and you got to play as her in, I think, maybe some parts. I don't know about the whole game. I forget.
Mhm.
But this one, from the get-go, you'll be able to choose Crash or Coco. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Saw that.
Yeah.
I noticed that not only just Coco, but you can also play as what is his name? The evil doctor and the
Oh, Neo Cortex?
Neo Cortex. You can play as him too. I don't know about playing the whole game, but that's cool
Yeah.
that you get to even play as the bad guy and see how his gameplay is like.
Yeah.
Have
no,
you guys played like the previous titles? You guys beat the other ones?
I played the old ones. I played a little bit of the remaster as well.
Nice. See, for me, I don't have any history really. Like the last time I played Crash, like the closest I played a Crash game was like on Uncharted 3 when they made you play like the first level.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
that was a great Easter egg.
That was very
Uncharted
cool.
4, yeah.
Very
That was
cool.
so cool.
So that's like
Yeah.
my knowledge of Crash. I didn't play it too much growing up.
Yeah, no, in Crash 4, that was like Vu said, it was a great Easter egg. It was literally Naughty Dog, the original creators of Crash, paying homage to, of course, their history and like reflecting back on where they came from, and that was very, very cool. But I love when gaming studios do all that kind of stuff, and they kind of pay homage and give those little Easter eggs to all those longtime fans and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah,
but-
Nice.
it's a time traveling game. You get to time travel, maybe go back and see old Bandicoot in like his pixelated form next to his
Mhm.
That's cool.
Yep.
newer HD form or something. That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel it. Like with Halo, when they did that classic mode where you can play with old graphics or new
Hmm.
graphics, that'd be cool. Definitely. With it, yeah, going back in time. So I'm wondering how this is going to pan out for them. Of course, as soon as they announced Crash 4, everybody on the forums were, you know, setting the forums ablaze and saying, "Hey, there's already been a Crash
Mhm.
4, blah blah blah." Then Activision and I guess I think this is Vivendi still doing it, but Vivendi's like, "No, this is Crash 4."
Right.
Because I think what happened is they sold the rights away, and so a bunch of different studios ended up with the Crash license, and so we got all these spin-offs. I think it was like Nitro Kart and
Yep.
all these other ones. But basically now they're saying no, that's not canon. They're pulling a Disney and it's like,
They're
hey, this is canon. So, but this
pulling a
one they're gonna
Thanos. They're gonna wipe that
yeah,
universe
they're gonna
apart,
wipe that universe. They're gonna take it out.
rebuild.
You know, it'd be like Dragon Ball Super where they take out those two universes. Yo, you don't exist. Sorry,
Oh
but
yeah, the Lord of Lords.
yep.
Yep.
But I think it'd be cool to see them kind of, I guess, like pay homage to those other ones and acknowledge that.
Mm.
um, just so that they're like, hey, we know that there's a Crash 4 that already came out technically, but we won't count that as canon. Almost like Dragon Ball GT, and be like, oh no
Right.
no, yeah, we know it's there, but yeah, we're not gonna say
Mhm.
that it's canon. It's there, but we won't say it's part of the main universe.
We
But
won't believe
yeah,
them until if they make a Crash 4 the third time, and then they say the first two games weren't canon. That's when we don't believe them, right?
yeah, exactly. They're like Crash 1, Crash 2. No, those aren't
Yeah.
canon.
Fool me
This is
once,
canon.
fool me twice, but fool me three
Yep.
times? Oh heck
Yep.
no!
Yep. But this
Right.
one, there's a lot of cool stuff in this game, like as far as gameplay, like you said, it's about time, like that's
Mm.
the title, and they're doing some sort of time traveling in the game. And it kind of reminded me of a couple weeks ago when they showed off the new Ratchet and Clank, where you're going through different portals and stuff like that. So I was like, oh,
Mm.
okay, cool. We already have two next gen games that are talking about sort of time travel and utilizing that mechanic. So it's pretty interesting to see that in these sort of, I guess, puzzle platforming type of games. So very interesting. I want to see how this pans out for them. But how about you guys? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm excited. I've always loved Crash games. I'm not like a super fan, but I always enjoyed playing them as a kid. So seeing that there's an actual next gen legitimate HD, not just a remaster,
Mm-hmm.
something new.
Hmm.
I'm definitely down to play. I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I think everyone is selling nostalgia. We've talked about the podcast before with a bunch of
Hmm.
remakes. So I mean, now we're just looking at better days. I mean, currently at this time we're recording the podcast, we're living in pretty crazy times. So I could totally see looking at a game like Crash, if you have nostalgic feelings for it and childhood memories, that's definitely something that's really powerful.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. Like they're really selling or hitting that nostalgia button. And like with us growing up, sometimes you grow up, you don't really have enough money to buy everything or play everything. And now you have that type of money, or you didn't have any money, but you have all the time in the world. This is our classic example. But
Now,
now we
people
have,
are finding a lot more
yeah,
time right now too, so
yeah,
it makes you feel like a kid again. So people who've
yeah,
lost their jobs and things like that, hey, video games are there for you now.
yep. And it's one of those
Mhm.
things where, it's cool to see sort of your childhood reemerging as you're an adult and
Hmm.
exploring that same kind of childlike memories and things like that. It's very cool to be, I guess, a 90s kid slash 80s kid right now, because everything is
Right.
coming back around like a boomerang.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's fashion. It
That's
always
a
comes
cool.
back in style, like
It
10,
does.
20 years later. Yeah.
That's kind of the cool thing about video games, that when they remaster it, you can show that to your kids. You don't have to show them that old busted version. Like honestly, they're not gonna want to play the old PlayStation 1 version of Crash Bandicoot. Like
I
honestly.
know.
So
Yeah,
the fact that you can do that with the remaster, it doesn't really
mhm,
work as well with movies, but with video games, I
yeah,
think is great and helps pass down to the next generation too. So.
yeah,
Pokemon is a great example because we're still
Hmm.
watching Pokemon now. And then
Yep.
imagine, like, I mean, we don't have any kids, but a lot of people our age have kids, so they're watching the new Pokemon with their kids, and they're saying, hey, I grew up with Ash, and I look at Pokemon Journeys as Go as the new generation of players, Pokemon Go or whatever, and then you have Ash. So Ash is our generation, and Go is like our kids' generation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's just one example.
Yeah, no, that's a good bring up too, because you see that kind of baton getting passed, and sort of you can kind of connect if you have children or little nieces or nephews, and you kind of say, hey, this is where I started, and this is where you're starting. So it's kind of like, hey, take it. It's your turn to experience the journey that I was fascinated with when I was 10 years old. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, speaking of journeys and boomerangs and stuff like that, let's bring it back around and talk about another game that was showcased in the PlayStation State of Play, and that is Genshin Impact, aka Anime Breath of the Wild. So
Interesting.
yeah, it is a very interesting game to say the least. As it was showcased, there was a bunch of cool stuff that we were noticing as we were watching it, and we were like, okay, hey, anime protagonist, and you've got an open world, you've got like a watercolor art style. Where have we seen this before? And it showcased a lot of Breath of the Wild features, which is not bad. And it looks definitely Breath of the Wild inspired. And if you don't have a Switch, you couldn't really kind of engage in that world. So it's cool to see PlayStation and all the other consoles sort of get that sort of feeling from a Zelda type of game, which personally I think it's inspired by Zelda, but I could be wrong,
I wouldn't be surprised. There has been
There's
a lot of Breath
games
of
inspired by
Wild.
Zelda, and this game is definitely taking advantage of that to the
There's
fullest.
a lot of indie games that are Breath of the Wild inspired, for sure. So it's cool.
Yeah. With it was pretty interesting to see, because it was almost, I don't want to say like a knockoff clone, but it was definitely, you could tell from just the trailer that there was a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild. And even the chat, as they were doing the live chat, everybody was like, oh, anime Breath of the Wild, anime Breath of the Wild. And they've had like big old plains where you can just roam around and enemies just scattered about, and you can fight them in the open world. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's interesting to see. The art style was very reminiscent of Breath of the Wild. It was kind of like that watercolor, sort of cell shaded / animated type of style, and it's very, very cool to see that style, because hey, if more games copy Breath of the Wild's art style, that's fine with me, because Breath of the Wild was a very beautiful game, and I'm glad to see that. I actually hope to see more of that kind of style take over, and we see those color palettes. And
I hope to see news of Breath of the Wild 2 at some point, because we haven't heard about that game in the last few years, and I'm sure they're planning to release that within the next couple of years. So
I'm hoping so.
Not to, because this year for Nintendo, to me, I feel like they got a few good releases, but nothing major. No
mostly remakes. I mean, what
remakes?
They just announced like Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Like, come on, another remake. Yeah.
So I think next year would be Nintendo's big year. They're taking a step back, I think, this year, and just being patient.
Yeah.
They're the best number one best-selling console, I believe, right now.
They're resting on their accomplishments right now.
No, PlayStation is technically.
Oh, they kind of are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard Xbox might be trying to. They're waiting on PlayStation to announce their price. That way, they want to undercut PlayStation because they could afford to. Yeah. So there's a lot of heat going on. We'll see where it comes in the future.
Yep, and that's the crazy part, because we're sitting here as consumers. We're going into August, and
we still don't know the
usually
price.
Around this time we have the makes, we have the models, but we don't know what the price is. We don't know what the date is. We have a holiday 2020 release, but we still are in August, going into almost, we're basically tail ending of summer,
that is
going into the
unprecedented.
fall season. And yeah, we've never seen this before. We haven't gone this long without a price for any generation. Like, usually,
crazy.
Of course, E3 in the past has kind of been the moderator and the facilitator for every game company to come out and be like, all right, this is our new hardware. This is where we announce it, blah, blah, blah. So we get it back in June, the first week of June, usually when E3 is. But this week or this
We
year,
never
it's
had
been
a
super crazy.
We had a
And we
summer
have
games event. That's all we had. We reported on it.
Yeah, and it's still constantly ongoing, and there's still, 3 weeks left of this event, and we still don't have a price for these next generation consoles, and it's kind of worrisome to me because if these companies wait too long to announce it, nobody might be able to buy it because people have lost their jobs. With them announcing it back in June, there's a lot of time for people to save up because you announce the price, and basically you have all the way up until November or October or November
True.
to
Save the
basically save up.
pennies.
Yep. And then with this stuff going on, people have unfortunately lost their jobs, and we still don't have a release date almost going into the fall date. And that leaves less time to save up for a potential new console. Also, less time to save up for even the next gen games because they haven't even announced what the pricing on that is as well. So it's
Oh no, it's
very
gonna be like
interesting.
$3.99. It's
$3.99.
$3.99. Like I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be around there, closer
Yeah.
to around
I think
400.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like, even though they haven't discussed a full-on price or exactly what they want to do with it, I think everybody's speculations are, I think, going to be pretty close to what is going to, what they're selling it at. And most people are probably going to, if they do plan on getting the system right now, they're probably already saved up for it because, like you said, most people lost their jobs or can't afford it. And so I get why PlayStation and Xbox is taking a step back and maybe doing things a little different because this year is just so different compared to any other year for any
True.
business.
Yeah, it's
You
very
know,
weird.
so I get where they're coming from. It sucks for us as consumers to not know what we're trying to get, but at the same time, you got to think about it as as a business and everything going on in the world. Not being able to get production. I mean, look at PlayStation. They're limiting everyone to only one console per order, right?
For household.
Per household. So
Mhm.
yeah, if you got siblings and you want multiples, it's gonna be hard. It's
Mhm.
gonna be a difficult year for everybody. So
They better learn to share.
Yeah.
Sharing is
yep,
caring.
exactly.
But yeah, no,
But
it's a good bring up, Vu. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, maybe they did have price announcements back in June, but then, with all the COVID stuff, they
Mhm.
could have canceled all those
Yeah.
announcements. And, they're looking at restructuring like, hey, for the first year, these first line productions are going to be running at $3.99, but as soon as the second gen comes out, hopefully the economy will bounce back. All these new ones will be basically $4.99 or $5.99. They'll make the money back and then basically say, hey, you know, if you bought this at $4.99, we're going to include a free game or something like that. That'd be an interesting model to see, to be honest.
I don't know
So
if they want to do that because we saw the Wii include Wii Sports, and there was a lot of grandmas out there that did not buy a game. They just wanted to buy a Wii for Wii Sports
Wii Sports
back in the
shit.
day. That's
Yeah.
why we haven't seen any games launch. I mean, consoles launch ever since that with a free game.
Mhm.
That's
So
true. That's very rare.
because they
Yeah, it's
expect
very
people to buy like one or two games to make their money back because the
Mhm.
money that they lost selling the console.
Right.
At this point, it's really just they're playing chicken. Microsoft and Sony are pretty much playing chicken. Who's willing to have more of a loss at the console sold?
Mhm.
And we know that Microsoft could lowball them like
Mhm.
like crazy because they just have a lot more money in the bank. They'll make their money back on subscription services like Ultimate Game Pass, like we mentioned in the past. Sony doesn't really have that. Their Play Online or PlayStation Now service doesn't hold a candle to Ultimate Games Online. I'll give that to Microsoft, even though like
Yep.
I mean I'm sure here we're a little bit more Sony fanboyish because of the exclusive games on Sony, but you can't deny that Microsoft just has way better online subscription services when it comes to
You know,
games.
that's so true because I've been a pretty PlayStation eccentric person most of my life, but after building my computer and getting on Game Pass, Xbox definitely started making me feel more Xboxy fanboy just for the Game Pass games, and the fact that PlayStation doesn't have that, I kind of wish they did because I wouldn't
wish
mind
they
paying
did.
extra $5 to play all the PlayStation exclusive, but I understand PlayStation holds their exclusive at a real high value
Yeah,
compared to
rightfully so because it
Xbox,
sells
and
consoles.
rightfully so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's
I
hard. I
know.
wish PlayStation would have their own subscription, but at the same time, maybe I don't want them to. So I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, for people who don't have like a huge backlog, I could see like having the Netflix of games is awesome. The reason why I don't sub to, let's say, Ultimate Game Pass is because I have too many games I've never even got around to playing it anyway. So I kind of have my own library of games. I don't have to spend like $15 a month for a service. But I could see someone totally getting into gaming, and there's a lot of new people out there getting into gaming because they're locked into their house. A lot of people are like building their own arcade systems, just getting creative in the house, doing whatever, taking up new hobbies. And if they're taking up gaming as their new hobby, yeah, I could see that being very attractive. I mean, what, $10-15 a month is like a subscription to like Spotify, or like a family plan, or Apple Music. So it's nothing.
Yep. No, and it's definitely good bring-ups that you guys talk about, because you hit the nail on the head. Xbox, like you said, Vu. Xbox, back in the Xbox and PS2 days, I was one of the few people, well, not few people, I guess minority, that bought the Xbox over the PlayStation. And when I was younger, I got to experience Halo, I got to experience Fable, all those first-party Microsoft Game Studio exclusives, Kung Fu Chaos, Jet Set Radio, all that kind of stuff. But with it, this year, especially, with the rumor mill going around saying, hey, these games might be $70, I think Xbox and Microsoft are in a prime condition to essentially, I don't want to say, win the game console wars, basically, but they're in a very good position for themselves. Like, they've totally flipped the script, did a whole 180, and revamped everything. So all those losses that were taken back when the Xbox One originally launched, they are making up for it by leaps and bounds. And I'm very proud to talk about Xbox, just because 360 was a big thing. With the introduction of Live, I was there. I remember when that update went live on my original Xbox, and I skipped on a 360 and went with PS3 instead because they had the free online. But ever since the Xbox and the 360, literally, they've just been improving their online services with this Game Pass, like you guys said. It is super, super cool to see them do sort of subscription kind of based model where they're the Netflix of games, because it provides a lot of accessibility to people that can't afford it, especially now with people losing their jobs and things like that. They might not be able to get that one game, but for $15, they have access to all these games at launch. So they save up for their console, all the extra money that they can. And basically, buy the Xbox. Xbox is saying, hey, that's enough. If you pay $15, we'll set you up with all the games that you can play throughout the month. You don't have to buy the one game for $70. And that's
Gold
the,
and the XCloud thing too.
yes,
Xbox.
that's the cool thing too.
It's
And
all about subscription services right now.
Yeah.
Apple's in on it. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, is all about subscription services. You got the storage, backup storage subscription service, Apple Music. You got the Apple TV subscription service. They're doing so much about it. But I mean, I don't want us to go too much into consoles because we've been talking about it for a long time. I guess because there's a lot to speculate about it since it's so close to release, like we said. But I'll say this though, one thing about Microsoft that they have to deal with is that a lot of people nowadays have a good PC, gaming PC. So how does this attract like someone like us, or that may have a good gaming PC and there's no exclusive games on the Xbox One X, Series X, that you can't just play on your PC, That's what they have to sell, yeah.
Yep.
Well, I heard I don't think Xbox really cares at all. Like if their Xbox even sells a ton of copies, or a ton of systems, like to them, if they sell a system, great. But like you guys talking about, like their main focus right now is getting those subscriptions. That's where the money's coming from. Yep. They don't have to worry about the overhead of selling a system and this and that if they can just stick to PC. Honestly, I think if Microsoft had
they're winning regardless. That's their platform.
If they had it their way, they probably just go straight PC and not waste money on hardware. But because they have so many fans, they don't want to let them down. So I get that. And for me, it kind of all comes back all encompassing for Xbox staying so online eccentric because they were the first console to really do online big over any other console, and now they're sticking to their guns with online stuff. And hopefully PlayStation can do something about that and try to compete with them. I always want to see companies compete.
Yeah, they just want to have people owning the console. That way they could sell their service. That's why they wanted to make it cheaper. I think they're waiting. They're waiting on each other to announce a price first, and they're not budging. No one's budging because they want to undercut. Because they saw what PlayStation did to them, Microsoft. and just undercut them, like, and we knew that Microsoft announced their Xbox One price first, and then literally you could just announce $100 cheaper, bam. So
Yep.
I'm feeling that Microsoft wants to do that to Sony, but none of them have announced anything, and that's why they're just both waiting. I mean, someone should just come out and just say $399. Then we're gonna get like someone to say $299. That's crazy. That would be crazy if it was that cheap. But we'll see. I feel like Microsoft has the means to take that sacrifice more, though. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, games need to be run on these systems. But what is our recommended games? If you guys want to move to that later.
Yeah. With it, I recommend that PlayStation gets their stuff together, because if they don't, then literally we'll see Microsoft take over with all the subscriptions. And like we were saying, the subscription model that works. It's proven. Look at Netflix, look at Spotify, look at Apple Music, Apple
Disney,
Arcade,
Hulu.
Disney, all that stuff. And that's the new business model for all these people. And with it's cool because you have that accessibility that we didn't have growing up. If we wanted a game, we had to save up, we had to do chores, and literally either get a part-time job and save up for that one game. But now
Play
they're
it for
saying, hey,
months.
you save up $15, you can play all of our games. And that's the cool part about the Xbox Game Pass, the Ultimate Game Pass. And like you said, Jeff, how are they going to cater to PC? You hit the nail on the head with that, because at this point, Xbox and Microsoft, they're just like, hey, we don't care if you buy our console or not. If you play on PC, that's fine. We're going to throw our exclusives on Steam. You can buy the Ultimate Game Pass. You can play it on there. You can cross-play it. We have this xCloud support. Literally, you can play it anywhere. You can play it on a phone, but it's one of
Crossplay
those
for
things.
sure is popular
It's
since Fortnite.
super good for them. And like with Vu, going back to what Vu said, Vu was talking about, that you're glad that PlayStation has their exclusives. I see PlayStation right now as sort of the analogy. I see it as like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. You're paying for that premium kind of content, and they want to separate themselves because of the quality. That's how they sell their stuff to the consumers. We have quality products that are proven over and over and over. That's why you should continue to buy and support our products, because we've always delivered on quality stuff rather than quantity. And I think PlayStation.
Is that more Sony? That's more Sony's model, right?
Sony and PlayStation. Yeah. So it's interesting because if they continue to do that, of course there'll be people that are always, supporting that. And it's a different type of business model, but if it works for them, it works for them. Not everything, that you copy and paste from somebody else always works. Look at what the state of play right now. The format is very reminiscent of Nintendo Directs. And you see Sony copy that. And people always make fun of Sony for copying, like, "Oh, this is a PlayStation Direct, blah blah blah."
Oh, they always have to copy each other. That's business.
And it's one of those things where, hey, whoever does it better, or whoever's the first mover, it's one of those things. But hey, if PlayStation doesn't do this sort of subscription-based kind of thing, and they continue to do that stuff, hey, if it works for them, it works. But with the state.
Go ahead.
With the state that everything is in right now, literally, I don't know if games are $70. It's going to be hard to convince people to pay, at least $400 for the console plus another $70.
Yeah.
When people are, have fallen on hard times right now, and it's just one of those things where we'll see. We'll see.
Speaking of Sony, though, I'll give them this though. They at least gave us a really fun game. Fall Guys.
Fall Guys.
We'll segue into that. So Fall Guys is the popular game you guys might have heard, especially if you watch Twitch and things like that. It's literally best to describe it as a Mario Party Battle Royale.
Yes. So
thankfully, Sony gave it to us for free if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber. But go ahead, Rob.
Yes. Yeah, so at the top of the hour, I said Mario Party Battle Royale. That's the perfect type of tagline to talk about Fall Guys. And all three of us have played it. If you have PlayStation, just a PSA, if you have a PlayStation Plus account and it's active, you can download Fall Guys for free. It is literally, it gives me so many nostalgic vibes of Mario Party 1, 2, and 3, literally. Co-op with all my friends yelling at each other, my siblings, things like that. And the cool part is it's not there's no like main sort of basically story that you have to play through, and then you have the mini games as a side. This one focuses on all sorts of party games. There's basically I think maybe like 10 to 15 different types of games that you can play, and
Hmm.
it's all sort of mini games, which is super fun. So if you ever played like Pokemon Stadium 2, where you had the little mini game corner, very
Mhm.
very cool, where it has those
Yeah.
short games that you guys can play all together,
It's literally
multiplayer.
just all like no board games, no dice to roll. It's just let's just get
Right.
straight to the mini games. That's the funnest
Yep.
part of Mario
Yep.
Party. My only gripe with it is that I know it's only on season 1, but there's some of the mini games I don't find that fun, and I wish it kind of rotated a bit better. Is that
Yeah.
it's always like, okay, we're just gonna start with a race all the time, and I guess that's the
Yep.
easiest way
Yeah.
to have the biggest qualification. But
Mhm.
I'm sure it will improve. They definitely got something here. Like if you were never a fan of Battle Royale before, if you're listening, you think of like, Apex Legends or something like that, and you never liked any of those games like Fortnite. This is a totally different type of Battle Royale. This is party Battle Royale. This is like
Yep.
grab up to 4 friends, screw around. It's almost like AKA a hug simulator because there's a grab function in the game, so you could
Oh, yeah.
troll, grab
Yeah.
people, and be like, "Hey, you're my buddy here," and then I see a lot of
Yeah.
people trolling. It's
Yeah.
definitely
the
a
game
good.
isn't.
Mhm.
Yeah, the game isn't serious at all. It's super just chill and relax. Like when I think Ron or one of you guys showed me it first, I was like,
Mhm.
"Dang, this game looks so colorful and tutti frutti looking." I'm like, I don't know if I want
Yeah.
to play this. But I played a few rounds with my girlfriend. And I was like, "Oh, this is actually really fun." It's actually like you can just sit back and if you lose, whatever.
Yeah.
You're not throwing your controller and going crazy. You just, oh well,
Exactly.
I lost and
Mhm.
hop into the next one right away. So
Yep.
yeah, it's good.
And like you
Yeah.
said, it's fun with a friend or your girlfriend, your
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend, whatever. Like I've never played it solo. I mean, I would say it's still fun, but it's definitely way more fun with your group of friends.
Yep.
Yeah. And with it, to just piggyback off what you guys said, literally, it's very nostalgic of like if you ever went to like a laser tag event for your birthday party, or you went and did mini golf, things like that. It feels very, very like, or like Six Flags or a theme park, it feels very much like that sort of feeling is what I get from playing this game. It's just a fun, like, hey, we're all hanging out together, we're all, trying to get to the end and win. And it's very cool to see just a game that's not taking itself so seriously. Even on Twitter, their official Twitch account or official Twitter account just got verified, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, we
Nice.
got verified! Let's go!" And
Right.
they're reaching out to different. The cool part is they're reaching out to different game developer studios, and they're saying, "Hey, do you guys want to be friends?" And the Cyberpunk people and CD Projekt Red were like, "Of course." And so they were like, "Hey, what should we do with sort of skins and things like that for the game?"
Oh
And they were
Mm.
talking
shit.
about they just opened it up to basically the Twitterverse, and people coming out with different sorts of mix-ups and things like that. I think I saw a
Mhm.
Crash Bandicoot suit.
Oh,
People were talking
nice.
about cyberpunk stuff. I was
Nice.
like, okay, cool.
They have a lot of crossovers. That'd be cool. This game
Yeah.
feels
Oh
like it
yeah.
could have been free to play though. Not saying that
Yeah.
it was like
Mhm.
not worth $20. I think it
Mhm.
can be, but it definitely feels like it could be a free to play game like a Fortnite.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
For
I
sure.
feel like this game could easily be like have their own like creator mode if they were to put
Mm.
out there like and just
Like
have
Little Big Planet
creators
or something like that.
do like Little
Minecraft.
Big Planet
Hmm.
style and just have people go out
Roblox.
there. Yes, can you imagine
Yeah.
all the crazy maps instead of just the 5, 10, whatever
Mm.
maps it is
Yeah.
to have let your fan base make all the fun maps and
That's coming
just
in
freaking
Fall
eat off
Guys
of
too.
them. Fall Guys
Man.
too. Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to see that. I don't make maps, but I love playing custom maps.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
Yeah. And that's the crazy part too. It's one of those where if they did open up to sort of like a community type of generated content, that'd be super cool, because even in like Halo, as we were talking about earlier, um, you had all these custom maps that people were make, and you had all that sort of, you had the people that played the core game for the single player, you had the people that played for multiplayer, then you had even a separate um basically player base that went above and beyond and created their own maps and their own game types. And to see a game like this potentially get one, I would be down for it, like you guys said, because a lot of the stuff that we see now, it's limited to a team of maybe 30 people max.
mm,
If you open it up to just people that have been stuck in quarantine sitting at home, looking for something to do, that are super creative, who knows what we could see? We could see some sort of
Yeah.
super crazy minigame that becomes the next big thing that everybody's
Yeah.
streaming. That's hoping that comes up in the
Fall Guys is
rotation.
kind of like that game right now too, and hopefully maybe they'll do a custom game mode. Some people who just like certain mini games, they could make a party like that. I think besides, you know how the game starts though, with a race every time, right? And it's a 60 people in the lobby. I feel like they should figure out some sort of game mode where mix it up instead of always just being a race. Make it like a 30 versus 30 team, and then go by then within those two teams what, who could qualify. But other than that, like,
yeah,
I think there's just a lot of potential. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's only season 1, so like Fortnite and all those other games, as their seasons, add on, they add on new stuff. So hopefully, season 2 there'd be a creator mode or custom mode, whatever, and that'd be sick.
Yes, for sure.
And aside from that, like, what are some of your guys' favorite maps or favorite
question.
most, like, what maps do you guys like?
I like the map where it's usually the final one where you're jumping on like the little platforms and you're trying to be the last one to stand. I like that one a lot, and I enjoy the one where, let's say, you're running around and you try to keep your tail with you. That one's pretty funny. Yeah. That just reminds me of Mario, Tanuki type of style, and then also like, I love the Ninja Warrior Japanese game show inspirations that this game has. So much,
Wipeout.
Yep, wipe out everything. This definitely feels like that. So some of the races are funny where my favorite race would be the one where you have all these doors and then you just have to jump into one and see which one it actually opens. And then it's just funny just to see people run into doors and just bump their face backwards and they just fall flat on their face. Yeah. And then when a door is open, you have like, everyone just trying to squeeze into the small space. It's like, that's my favorite race area.
Totally anti-social distancing. This
yes,
game.
It is. It is like a joke, like a meme to it.
Man. Yeah.
We needed this game in this quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely takes the edge off of all the stuff that's going on right now. But Oh man.
But for you guys, what would you think of your favorite, Ron?
For me, the door one is always funny because it's part of the race thing, and literally you see everybody just try to force their way through the one door that's open.
And it's so
hilarious.
simple too, but so funny.
And it's so funny just to see like everybody smash the door, then somebody takes a chance and goes some other way, then you see the crowd split like this. It's like, oh, that door's open, let me go there.
Yeah.
But there's another one that's super funny that I call the coronavirus game. But basically, I forget what it's called, but basically one person starts off like almost like infected, and they have like the little hearts around them, and they go around and they grab the other people and infect them.
Yeah, I played that mode only like once or twice. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I keep playing, I keep getting the same mini games. So I don't know if there's like a way you could like, I don't know. They have to they have to kind of figure out some sort of algorithm for people to, try to not play the same mini game all the time. But yeah, that was a pretty fun one.
Yeah, with it, it's cool because you basically, the way that you win is you get everybody infected with coronavirus, or you're the majority that is not infected, and so you're basically fighting your whole gameplay of not getting infected. And the person that starts it off, if they get everybody infected, then basically everybody wins. But if you don't get everybody infected, then the people that are infected lose. And so the people that are that haven't been tagged, essentially, they survive and they make it to the next round. So it's a very interesting mechanic. But yeah, no, totally, Jeff. I understand what you're going through on that because it seems like with the matchmaking, we're constantly getting some. I guess it depends on the day because when I first tried it out a couple days ago, I had the same set of games all night long.
That would make a lot of sense if they have a set of games.
Yeah, and then the second day that I played it, it was the same set of games, but it was different from the first. I had a couple that spilled over, but it was a different set of games. But I felt like that rotation was like, oh, hey, this is Tuesday's rotation. This is Wednesday's rotation, things like that.
That's not a bad plan. I mean, that way, I know like PSO2, that MMO I might talk about later in this podcast, but they have a set schedule where like, okay, this is going to be the set of games that's going to be played mainly today. Like maybe there's a higher percentage that this level is going to pop up. So that'd be cool.
Daily.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, so if you like this mini game, the Corona mini game, we'll call it, I guess, then that's going to come up like 30% more times or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Chibi's saying it's called Jinx. You get Jinx. Sorry, it's not
Oh,
coronavirus.
Oh
You get
yeah,
Jinx.
Jinx. That's
You
it.
get
That's
Jinx.
it.
Even though we know what they're trying to do,
Yeah,
trying to pass
but I was
on.
like, okay, cool. Get everybody infected and get them jinxed. But yeah,
That's a more
but no, how about you?
Yeah.
friendlier way to say it.
Yeah.
Some of my I don't know what's my favorite because all of them are a little bit infuriating to me
Yeah, they
sometimes.
are. They can be.
I think
Yeah.
the freaking windmill one gets me every
Oh my
time.
gosh,
Get up
Mm.
to
yes.
the windmill and you get blasted
Oh,
all the
the
way to the
first
side and you drop down.
race. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the windmill one or the slime one. I can never pass the slime one. That one's hard.
Yeah.
I was playing with George, and he would always get knocked out the first round. If it was the windmill one,
Really?
yeah, when we first started playing, he was so bad at the game, and he was just like every time, like he's just watching me play half the time. Like I'm like, dude, you can't get past the first qualifier. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
You have your own cheerleader, bro.
Yeah. So he's just cheering me on, and like I would make it to like the final round a lot, but yeah, it's
Nice.
tough. Have you guys? My question is, have you guys won though yet?
I haven't.
I have not.
Like,
I
yeah.
tried to get a W last night with Vu,
Oh
and
my
then
gosh,
we ended
We
up
got close.
deeply.
that close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we got
close.
super close.
I close.
Super close. Man, because we made it. We made it to. I think both of us made it to the 4th round. Then
Yeah.
I made it to the 5th because I think Vu DC'd, which was super crappy.
Mm.
And
That's
then
pretty
so
annoying.
the last one is almost like race to the top of the mountain kind of thing. And with it, it's just crazy because there's stuff flying at you. There's basically obstacles you have to jump over.
Mhm.
You have to worry about the other players like hitting. It's sort of like flippers that go around or like
Yeah,
revolving
yeah,
doors.
and it might knock
They
you
hit
off,
it
of
one way,
course.
and basically, if they're, say you're in front of them or they're in front of you, whoever reaches it first turns the little revolving sort
Okay.
of spinny thing. And so if you're on the other side trying to, counter them, literally you get smacked or they get smacked. So it's super, super infuriating at some points because you're like, all right, cool, I'm going to make it. And then literally you get trapped right there. Or it's like, all right, I'm going to beeline for the top of the mountain and they have these little spinny things or these fruits. So if you avoid like the fruits that are falling down, you're going to get hit by the little spinny thing. And it's just one of those things where it's like, damn.
Yeah.
But it is cool because like you guys said, with this game, there's it's free to play on PlayStation, but if you want to own the game, it's $20 on Steam and PlayStation as well. If you don't have PlayStation Plus, but in there they do have microtransactions, but a lot of it is just cosmetic, like how all these season pass battle royales have been. You can technically buy like kudos points, so you can buy more. So it's almost like V-Bucks and
Mhm.
Robux and things like that. But it's all totally optional. But this game, I don't know if it's just me, but it doesn't feel like it's necessary to actually have to buy this thing. And I know like they have some cool costumes, but unless you're like super engaged with the costumes that they have like daily costumes, things like that.
They have some sick
But
costumes.
Hey,
Hey,
honestly,
it worked for
doesn't feel like I
Fortnite,
need to
man.
buy
It
it.
worked for Fortnite. Fashion
Yep,
is the real end
it's
game,
true.
and I'll go into more
hmm
detail about that. It's all about the fashion. Everyone's vanity obsessed.
Yep.
I mean, look at everything. Dating apps, everything has to look cute. Everything has to look pretty.
Yeah.
Catfish as hard as you can,
Catfishing, yeah,
Yep.
catfish is a thing. So
man.
it's vanity at the end of the day. Fashion, the real end
I
game
need
for
a
sure.
catfish suit in the game.
Yeah,
For meta.
I think skins are just the best thing. Like people, they made so much money on Fortnite with skins. They made so much money on PSO2 with skins, and I think
Yeah.
Fall Guys will too. Like for sure.
Yes.
Like you have,
For
as
sure.
long as you have a big audience. That's why I'm surprised this game wasn't free to play. I think because
Yeah.
they're a small development team and they have no history of
Yeah.
making any video games, that they needed
Who
to
made this
make
game?
some sort of money.
What's the
Um,
developer?
I forget who the. Let me see. I'll look it up real
I don't
quick.
even
But
know.
I know the publisher is Devolver, which caught
Oh,
my attention.
okay.
I was like, okay,
So we don't
cool.
know who they are, but they made a
Oh, it's
Yeah, made a good
good
game.
enough game.
Mediatonic. Mediatonic.
Oh,
Okay,
So
never heard of them. I'm sure they're a new studio, because the reason why I thought that, because you said that they weren't even verified on Twitter, and then they're trying to befriend like CG Project Red and stuff like that, and so then that makes
Mm.
so much sense.
Yeah, I guess
to
they're a
me.
pretty indie studio.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're pretty indie, but
yeah. And with it, it's pretty cool to see them like reach out and then, just getting those sort of like feedback, like, oh, hey, yeah, let's be friends, blah, blah, blah. And seeing that's the cool part about indie games is seeing basically the team's kind of hard work pay off for them, because these teams, honestly, if you talk to any indie devs, I think the max you'll probably see on a project is maybe 100 people on an indie dev sort of game at most. Normally, it's maybe 30 to 50 people max. But to see them reach out, get verified, reach out to other big AAA studios, and see them like get encouragement, that's the cool part that I see, and that's what kind of makes me feel happy for them, because you have a small. It's almost like a underdog story.
Underdog
Yeah,
story, for sure.
where basically you from
the
nothing.
Rocket League.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it reminds me very much of Rocket League, because that was also free on PlayStation Plus too. So they're trying to follow that formula where let's get an initial popularity out there. Everyone's gonna like this game. Add some crossplay. Oh, that's what they need to do. They need to play, have crossplay online, and they'll be killing it, man. They'll be killing it.
Yes. Yeah. And I think honestly, right now it's on PS4 and Steam, but I can imagine any day now, as they get all the licensing okays, it'll hit Xbox, it'll hit Switch for sure.
This is a Switch game.
Especially if this is definitely a Switch game, especially if they make it free to play on Switch and Xbox, you'll see that player base just shoot up, or it's included with the online membership.
Yeah,
hey,
they could always add it later.
Cool.
And then the people who did pay, they could just give them like currency for like buying skins or something.
Exactly. And then also, we have Quirk Genius. RJ's in here. What's up, RJ? Talking about selling potential collabs. So if they get the Nintendo license, make the Tanuki Mario suit,
that would be sick.
Collab.
Animal Crossing, bro. If they make a KK Slider suit or a Tom Nook suit, of course I'll rock it, because
skins,
right now,
dude, skins are crazy. That's what Fortnite did. Collabs all day. They had Batman collab. They had Star Wars collab. They had Marvel collab. Yeah, everything. Like so much collaborations of skins. It's the world's their oyster.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah,
see a Master Chief character or something in the game.
Yeah.
A little wild.
That'd be super dope.
Hey, that'd be cool if each system had their own exclusive and they do crossplay and you see everybody in their exclusive outfit. That'd be sick.
That's what they did in Rocket League for sure. They had some exclusive cars that you had. So you had the Twisted Metal ice cream van on PlayStation, which I rocked. And then I don't think PC had anything exclusive, but it's good that they gave love to PlayStation.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And even on Nintendo, they had Samus's car. So they had a Samus Aran or Samus Aran.
I know they did Fast and Furious too as well, and Batman.
Batman.
All guys got a lot of options.
Yep. So
I had the Mystery Machine. I seen that one time.
Oh, that's sick. I didn't know that. That's cool. Oh, they do. I forgot about that.
So so shout out to Fall Guys.
Shout out to them. Before we move on though, like
let us know for sure. But
before we move on though, like I wanted to hear let's say Vu if he had any more favorite or disliked levels.
Yeah, okay. I think probably my main dislike is that stupid windmill level, but I think the level I like the most is the seesaw for races. I actually really like that.
I think you're in the majority or in the minority on that one.
Really?
Yeah.
The seesaw can be annoying, but like,
wait, which one's the seesaw again?
Right,
which one's
the seesaw? Is where it's a whole bunch of just seesaws that go up and down. You have to balance and jump from platform to platform.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if I even played that mini game yet. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
You'll know when you play it.
Is it a race? Was it a race mode?
It's a race. Yeah,
I gotcha.
But you'll know. But to me, I feel it's more skill based because with the freaking windmills, it's like either you make it or you don't.
Hey, that's skill based. What are you talking about?
It's more probability.
It's all about timing, man.
At least you guys are not like George, and he dies in the first round all the time. He's gonna be listening to this. He's gonna be like, "What the hell, man? Why you exposed me?"
Talk about me. I'm a bad gamer.
Yeah. No, but the seesaw, you'll definitely know for sure, Jeff, because it's that same mob mentality. Like when we were talking about the doors. If you think the doors are bad, when you get to the seesaw, it's literally a seesaw.
Oh, I remember. Okay, now I know. I remember what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going this way or that way, and literally, if people are like, "Oh, hey, I have the same mindset as you," they'll hop on one side, and literally all of them will fall off. People are like trying to balance, and literally, it's just like this. And so you're on the.
That one is an annoying level. Yes.
and people are still on one side, and the thing has not come down yet, and you see people on the other side.
That
just
one is
passing.
so RNG because you don't know, you don't have any control of what people are doing. Normally, I'm okay with it, but then I have no control what the majority of people want to go on this side and imbalance the whole damn thing. I'm like, whoa, what the heck?
That's why you got to predict. You got to be like, oh, okay, they're going this way, I'm going to jump on the other one.
That's the one you don't follow a crowd. Do not follow the crowd on that one. That's why I never had a problem because I never tried to follow the crowd in the seesaw, but a lot of people do. And when they do, they just like, whoop, they fall over.
It's like, bro, get off the damn seesaw. Let the seesaw reset so I can jump across.
You see what? Yeah, now I remember it because the way you were describing it with your hands, I was like, oh, that one.
That one where the platform's always like this.
Oh, the platforms are going like this.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh man, Fall Guys is good. We'll probably talk about it again when it have like a season 2 or something like that.
Right,
for sure. But what recommendation games do you guys want to talk about?
Recommendations.
Other games.
All right, let's jump into some recommendations for our summer games. What do you guys been playing?
I mean, I've been playing.
Fall Guys is the definite recommendation, for sure.
That's definitely obviously without saying recommend to try it for sure. Even someone that's not in the games will probably enjoy it. But for me, I've been playing. Whoever's been looking to get into an MMO. I've tried 3 this past week because a brief news that's been happening in these 3 games. Phantasy Star Online 2, we all heard New Genesis was announced. The games are both cross-compatible with each other. You can bring your character over, things like that. Won't go into too much detail. But the original Phantasy Star Online 2 is not going to be obsolete. It's going to be updated in graphics. Is what's rumored to be going on. But if you're looking for a free-to-play MMO-like game, if anyone out there that's trying to play something like that during quarantine, it is action RPG, more based on reflex and skill. I guess you could say it's along the soul of Monster Hunter, but it's like a free Monster Hunter, but it's much more fast-paced, a lot more anime. And then, as we said earlier in the podcast, fashion is the end game. You could design your character, like the sky is the limit. The character creator is the best pretty much in the business. If you want to make a good, cute anime waifu, you can. You want to make a tall, brawly man, you can. And it doesn't matter. Like this game, you could cosplay as so many different characters. And if we were saying earlier, there's a lot of, we were talking about cross promotions. PSO2 has it all. And if you look at Japan, they had a crossover with Attack on Titan, Nier Automata, all types of like animes and games. So that's definitely one I was looking into and played, and I still play because episode 4 came out as a recommendation. Second recommendation, I'll try to get through it pretty fast. Final Fantasy 11. Have you guys heard of that game? It's 18 years old.
Final Fantasy 11.
Super old. Final Fantasy 11. And the reason why I wanted to highlight it, is all the old school fans listening about Final Fantasy 11. That game is 18 years old. They just announced that they were revealing new storyline. They just released it a few days ago, actually. Jesus. So they're making new storyline for a game that still used PS2 development kits. Like, come on, that game is so old. I know.
How are they updating it?
They're using PS2 development kits. they have. Yep.
To me, I see it as like, okay, you know how WoW has their classic and their modern. I think they like Square Enix probably saw that and they're like, maybe some of our player base don't want to play on the new stuff and want to play on the classic old.
Yeah.
Because their main MMO is Final Fantasy 14, which is the other game I was playing.
Yeah, that's big main modern one.
I like to hear your thoughts though, because if you were, and we were talking about subscriptions a lot in this podcast, so it's surprising that MMO's subscription model is dead, but subscriptions have been. Everyone's used to a subscription at some point, so I don't see why people don't want to subscribe to a quality MMO like Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 14. Yeah. And then if you had a choice between one or the other, obviously one's 18 years old, has a lot of content. But the difference is that Final Fantasy 11 is more of a sandbox MMO, a lot of slower mechanics, more about the open world, where if you look at Final Fantasy 14, it's more of a theme park, like a Final Fantasy theme park. Like you go there, you go in a queue, a duty finder queue, it'll find people to play with you, matchmake, and then you go on a ride. And then if you choose to go on that ride again, go ahead. But so that's the difference. One is the theme park, Final Fantasy 14. One is more of a sandbox game, Final Fantasy 11. But for you guys, they're both $13. a month entry price. But if you were going to pay for one, which one you pay for? And then you also have Phantasy Star Online 2, which is not entirely the same game as those two, but it's free to play though. So I could see why there's a lot of competition. What do you guys think about that though? Like, do you think the subscription model is like an old model for MMOs, or do you think like it has its purpose?
To me, I think MMOs are slowly on the downtrend just because back in the day, I understand having a subscription, you pay $10-15 and you get this ever expansive world, and the game's just endless, but it's only one game. That's the problem. Now, with Game Pass, you get not just one game, you get 20, 30 games, and you don't have to
that's a good point.
stick to one thing all the time. And so to me, I see that's why it's hard for MMOs to really live up to what they used to be nowadays, just because of Game Pass and all those other subscriptions that's competing with them. Like, why play one game when you can play so many? So
exactly.
True. Abundance of choice. That's what we're going through right now. I mean, if you're on whatever, like social media, dating apps, that's the problem. It's called the paradox choice. So a lot of times when you're given too many options, you don't know what to watch on Netflix. I mean, there's a book about it. It ultimately leads to unhappiness or stress in a way because it's too complicated. What Ron said earlier, we were talking, saying that when you give the consumer too many options, they kind of ultimately don't know what to choose at that point. I totally get it. Yeah, I agree with you on that though. There's just so much competition. Do you have any input or on it, Ron?
Yeah, just basically what Vu said. That's exactly what I was thinking. You're giving the basically the the fare or the analogy of, hey, you pay $15, you get on this one ride, you ride it as if you ride it, you get off, you hop back, or you choose to hop back on it. The 11-year-old or Final Fantasy 11, that one is open world, where basically 11 or $15 is your entry fee, and then you can explore wherever you want. What Vu said is hitting the nail on the head with the Game Pass. Game Pass, you pay $15, you get to go to Disneyland, you get to go to Universal.
It's like the dual pass. You could get to California Adventure.
California Adventure, you get to go to regular Disneyland. So it's that thing. You get the plethora of options. You could do whatever. You can go on, Magic Mountain or whatever. I don't know. I haven't been to Disneyland in a while, but you can go on all those super crazy rides. And you can choose what rides you go on to. With Final Fantasy 15, he said with the MMO, that is pretty much
strictly what you're playing.
I think why MMOs are kind of slowly phasing out or not as popular anymore, because you pay $15, you stay on the same basically line or the same area. It's
almost like targeting a specific audience is pretty much what you guys are saying. Exactly. And to be fair though, like for Final Fantasy 14 at least, they do have a free trial that is level capped up to level 60, right? And then you could play up to the storyline to the first expansion in its entirety, which is Heaven's Ward. And then the max level currently in that game is 80. So yeah, I could totally see that. They have to fight back with all these games that are free to play, like Fortnite and stuff like that, and they want to capture a big audience and try to suck them in. But definitely it is targeting a certain target demographic for sure. But I could see these online games being so popular now because, I mean, we're human, right? We want to socialize. We want to have some social interaction. So if you're looking for a community to get into, I could see like an MMO would be something that someone's probably looking for that maybe Game Pass won't offer. And I guess for me, Game Pass, it's like I'm too overwhelmed by so many different games that, like I said, paradox of choice. I don't even know which game I'm going to start to play at this point. It's like, it's crazy. We have, I mean, it's a great time to live that we have so many great subscription services and options, but ultimately it's kind of stressful.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, because it's one of those things where I feel myself in that sort of predicament as well. Like, oh, I have so many games I want to play. Oh, what do I choose? Oh, I want to play this game. Oh, I have to do all this to start it up. I have to load it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. I don't want to play it today. That's where I think MMOs shine, because, like you said, with the Game Pass, you have the plethora of options. So you can choose basically what community you want to join. So you have this community, that community, that community, that community, as opposed to MMOs where you have one solid community where it's all sort of basically one unit, and it's I guess a bigger group or a bigger audience, because everybody is ingrained on one particular sort of ideal / game. as
Right.
opposed to Game Pass. You pay $15, you have options. People are riding on, people are going to Disneyland, people are going to California Adventure, people are going to Universal, whatever it
Yeah.
is, blah, blah. But with the method or the model that you said, everybody's going to this, so you have that sort of bigger kind of community impact. Um, as opposed to the online, I think if anything, if MMO, I know it's been kind of downturn with all subscriptions. If they were to switch, I think to maybe a free to play model or free to start, I think it would be a lot better. Like with
Hmm.
the Final Fantasy 14, I think that's a really good thing that they're doing. They're giving this promotional to bring people in to play the game. Like,
Yeah, the
hey,
free trial.
you can play up to level 60. You can play up to the first expansion. Other than that, after that, you have to pay $15 a month or something like that?
15 for the deluxe, where you can make multiple characters, but entry price is 13 a month.
Okay, so 13 a month. Okay, so yeah, with it, I think that is perfect because I remember I wanted to get into 14, but it was just like, all right, cool. They had Realm Reborn. I remember when we had the
Yeah.
launch for Heaven's Ward, and then what was the third? What's the latest one?
Shadowbringer. That came out last
Shadowbringer.
summer.
And then what's Stormblood was before?
Stormblood was in 2017 around summer, yeah.
Okay, so that was before.
They make a new expansion every 2 years. So they
Okay.
make an expansion, they ride it for 2 years worth of updates, and then after 2 years they announce, like a year from now they're going to announce the next expansion already. So it's
for
like
sure.
it's fast.
Yeah.
They move fast, but I totally get what you're saying. Like them going to free to play model, they would have to redesign the game. Yoshida talked about this years ago, where they would have to deliver the content very differently. They would have to offer more microtransactions to feed the game.
Okay.
So I totally see the difference, and I'm playing both PSO2, a free to play model, and playing 11 years ago back then, and tried the free trial that's going on now for Final Fantasy 11, and then Final Fantasy 14. Those games offer a different experience that doesn't seem like, it's kind of like having YouTube Premium or something that you have no ads, or Hulu of no ads. So when you have a game that's free to play, you're bombarded with kind of like, oh, you have to buy this. Oh,
Okay,
you want to
buy this,
unlock
buy
this, you have to buy this. That's a lot of free to play games do that, and a lot of people don't like that. So they are still different models, even though MMO subscription is a bit archaic at this point, but it still could exist if you bring a quality enough product, as we were mentioning about subscriptions, and people feel worth it. If you're a legacy player like me, it's only $10 a month because I have a lifetime discount since playing 1.0 of Final Fantasy 14. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Yeah. Hey, Alan had it too, and Alan, our friend that we know. But yeah, it's definitely something that is. I'm surprised there's certain MMOs that still have a subscription. I think the only other one is like WoW.
Wow.
But,
Yeah.
Yep. My question is though, like, old game design is not really dead because people still like. WoW Classic. That was a thing that just came out the last couple of years, and then
Even like RuneScape too. RuneScape just came from classic stuff.
Yep.
Long time.
And the reason why I played 11 is because I missed that old, like, Square Enix needs to make a Final Fantasy 11 classic server, official one, not the private server. They need to release something like that because they have been saying, though, in 2 years for their 20th anniversary, they want to announce something cool. Maybe it's going to be a classic server, I don't know, revamped the game, whatever. But my question is, though, do you think all this new game design that's been going on, like making it more accessible, making it very kind of too easy, kind of hold your hand type of gameplay, that's Final Fantasy 14, a more modern game design aesthetic where it's more accessible to everybody, where Final Fantasy 11 was kind of like, we don't hold your hand, we're throwing you in the ghetto with like $2 in your pocket, and then there you go. It's two different game design approaches, but like, do you guys prefer the new model, or do you still like the old model? Like, that's my question to you guys. Do you like the games that are like easier now, or do you like the challenge of older games?
Go ahead.
That's the easiest way. Go ahead, Ron.
For me, I think so. Me, I always think of it from a business perspective because I'm a business guy. Literally, I understand the new model. I understand holding your hands because holding your hand, that leads to more data or more player base. With it, more player base potentially leads to more money. More money leads to more sequels, more expansion, more growth of the game. So that's why I like that model. You have those hardcore players that love the hardcore. They're a niche, basically, community. And with that, I have to acknowledge them too, because without that kind of niche community, the newer game wouldn't survive. Basically, um, Final Fantasy 11 walked so that Final Fantasy 14 could run in a sense.
Right.
So with that, you still have people that have that demand for the old classic stuff. Or else, if there was no demand for a harder Final Fantasy 11, literally they won't even be talking about this kind of stuff. Same thing with WoW Classic. Same thing with RuneScape Classic. There had to be enough players asking for this sort of stuff from their core audience to have basically raised a flag to the developers and the studio saying, hey, there's a lot of people that want to talk about this and they keep bringing this up. Maybe we should explore this option. So I like that both options do sort of exist. And I can't really pick either one just because, potentially, I don't know if the teams are, it's the same studio, but I don't know if they can technically use the same funds and pull from the same bank account, I would say.
No, they
But
can't. I mean, if someone's subscribing to 11, for example, that's going to the 11 fund team. Like that's not, yeah, that doesn't go to 14. So that's the divide, which is weird, even though they're both from the same company. But yeah, they're definitely, obviously, 14 is their baby because they get more money. And as you said, it's true. Like if you make it accessible, you're going to attract a bigger audience. You're going to make more money. But I've heard of opinions where they both kind of need each other. Hardcore players, there's always that battle between casuals and like they always say filthy casuals or something like that. The hardcore players hate them. They hate dealing with them. They don't know how to play the game. They suck at the game. But they're feeding this game that you love as well. And then you're both funding it. You're both, are supporting the game where, without, both of your guys' support, they wouldn't be able to make, future quality content. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Like it's a hard balance to find. But I mean, unless you had more to say, but what about Vu? Like, what were your thoughts? About it?
It's kind of hard for me to, at least for Final Fantasy. I played Final Fantasy 14 a little bit, and I've never played Final Fantasy 11. I know it's a lot more hardcore of a game.
It is.
And I feel like for me personally, I don't think I would want to step in a game like that, Final Fantasy 11. Just for me, I feel like that would be just way too much stress on myself to.
It's like a second job almost.
It is. I know a lot of people complain about games that are hand-holdy or I don't need to know that or this or that, but a game like Final Fantasy 11 that's so intricate and complex, like if I don't have my hand held a little bit there, I'm not gonna know where to go, and I'm just gonna give up. Like honestly, I think a good analogy, like I think the new Hideo Kojima game, Death Stranding. That I never played it, but I watched some playthroughs of it. And the beginning of that game, when you start, like there's no real hand holding. Like he throws you into it, and you need to figure out what you're supposed to do with the packages, where you're supposed to go. There's no prompt that comes up to tell you what to do. And like for me, like if I were to jump into like a game like Death Stranding, I probably would be a little bit output just because I have to put in that extra effort to learn. I know I should want to learn, but at the same time, like I don't have the time, and it's a weird balance. Like you were saying, it's a balance
for sure.
You got to figure out for yourself.
It's good for nostalgia for the players that played before, but my experience of jumping in it because of the free trial, I played it for about like over 3 hours at least. It made me want to just play Final Fantasy 14 because it made me appreciate Final Fantasy 14's mechanics so much because the hand holding, I'm like, maybe I'm just like more mind numbed. I'm used to that game design now where let's just say, for example, in a quest in Final Fantasy 11, they'll give you the description on, roughly where to go in the synopsis, but they don't tell you exactly where the character actually is. So let's say you have to go to this town, but then where the heck is this guy? Like, and then if you're looking for it through WiseScan on the map, you have to go through each individual character. It doesn't show you like it doesn't have a mini map unless you it doesn't. There's no mini map. It's really hard, but I could see the immersion is really good because you're really thinking you're a part of the world. Like in a real world, back in the day, you didn't have no like freaking GPS or something like that. Now it's like the new game design. They give you the pinpoint of where this character is. You talk to this person, makes it a lot easier, and then you could teleport, practically everywhere easier too. Not that Final Fantasy 11 didn't offer those type of transportation things, but it's built on. It was the afterthought because the original developer Tanaka, he made these systems to be painfully time consuming for a reason. Delayed gratification. And in the society we live now, we're all about instant gratification, baby. Smartphones are super fast. We have like so much information in the tip of our fingers. We have a plethora of choices, so it's tough for sure. Like, but definitely well, that's my recommendation of the game. I want to let you guys, if you guys have any more input on it, go ahead and show off what games you wanted to talk about that need some love.
No, this is definitely a good concept for sure. Like you brought up a lot of good points. Ultimately, nowadays it's one of those things you have to just find something that you enjoy, whether you're a hardcore gamer, you want that old like Dark Souls, like I'm a masochist, I like going through all this pain to get the pleasure, basically kind of thing. Or you just want to take a break from the world. You don't want a video game to be a job, so hey, you play more casually. Okay, there's no right way of playing the game. So just have to find something that you enjoy the most. But Vu, I know we both talked about ours, but you have any recommendations for games this week?
Recommendation? I've been playing just a bunch of old games, honestly. I haven't played anything too new right now. I've been playing Fallout New Vegas and some Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh. We mean like a card game or console game?
Or like Duelist of the Rose, Dark Duel Story.
Duelist of the Rose is a good game. Great soundtrack. No, I'm playing the one on Steam. I bought it a while back. What is it called? Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist. Let me see here. Let me look at my Steam list.
Is it the remake?
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
No, not the remake. It's Legacy of the Duelist.
Legacy of the Duelist? Okay.
That's the one that came out like 2016. I wanted to get the new one, but it was like $40, and a lot of people are saying it's pretty much the same game. So I'm just gonna hold off a little bit. But I miss Yu-Gi-Oh! I miss playing card games. So I was like,
nostalgia is hell of a drug, man.
Playing again.
A lot of the games we've been recommending.
Yep.
Yeah. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! The card game back in the day. Oh my god.
Yes.
Yu-Gi-Oh, bro. I could tell you, I'm probably cardboard rich right now. I'm sitting on some old stuff. I just got rid of some Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Man,
dude, and it's like when this new set just dropped, like TCG wise, it's the first time I bought Yu-Gi-Oh in about 15, 20 years. And in this set, it's like a $1,100 card, and I was like, I'm the one that's gonna get it. You always think that. You always think.
Get hella boxes thinking you're gonna get the most rare cards. Go through all of them. Nothing.
Dude, that is CCG is a very slippery slope. I have just
I mean,
so much.
I miss collecting cards in general. I remember my brother, I think he bought it on eBay when Pokemon cards were a thing. He bought like the whole, how like at the store they have a big stack, like a whole box full. Like he bought that for me, like on my birthday or Christmas or something. And then we had like hundreds of decks to just open, like, and then that was so sick. Like, and then I was able to get like, I think it was the Team Rocket set. So I mean,
nice.
Yeah,
and then
decks were cool. I
was able to get the Dark Charizard in there and whatnot.
Yes, Dark Charizard. Sick.
Team Rocket's Hitmonchan, all that stuff. Yeah, dude. Like,
heck yeah.
Man, if you have a sealed box, that's some money right there.
Yes. I wish I would have kept my Kaiba starter pack that was my first pack.
Bro, hold on.
Kept that.
Oh, I had the Joey one. I had the Joey.
You had the Joey one?
The Joey one with the Red Eyes Black Dragon and
Yeah. The Pegasus one was pretty popular. I remember a lot of people had that one too.
Dude, I lost a lot of my cards. I wish I still had them. Like,
same here.
I have so many good ones.
Hey!
What's up?
Nice.
Pulling up the newest set. It's the sealed
Battles of Legend. Oh, okay.
Nice.
Battles of Legends, first edition, but this bad boy stays sealed. But
definitely buy first editions if you have the money, because I've noticed like later on, first editions are the ones that are worth money.
And then we've got some old.
Oh, you're bringing out the deck.
Boom.
Nice. Oh, Jinzo.
Hey, this is the gamer tip for dating here, okay? Bring out the Pokemon card, the Yu-Gi-Oh card. Hey, this is my previous accurate, baby. I got a sick amount of Pokemon cards, a sick amount of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And they just dropped the pants.
Since we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, we can maybe end it off with a little anime and talk a little about some of the Yu-Gi-Oh episodes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What were some of your guys' favorite Yu-Gi-Oh episodes or favorite characters or anything like that?
Bro. I think, of course, Duelist Kingdom, it brings me so many fond memories. Joey, baby dragon and kunai chain.
Got that freaking New York accent or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh my god, the
Whatever
English dub
his
is like
Jersey
pretty good,
Yeah.
memorable.
Man, and even like I think it was later on Duelist Kingdom, or it was the second season where it was after was it Battle City or
Battle
Duelist City?
City.
Battle City,
Battle City.
where freaking Weevil, RJ's in the chat saying freaking brought up another one where Weevil takes the Exodia cards and he throws them, or basically he says that he has the soul of his friends or something, then he rips the card in half, and in Japanese it's just so intense because literally Yugi or Yami goes ham on Weevil, and basically in the Japanese, if you haven't watched Yu-Gi-Oh! And the difference between English and the Japanese, the Shadow Realm in the American version was basically a sort of censorship, because in the Japanese version, the Shadow Realm was actually somebody dying, like an
Wow.
actual character
Oh,
dying.
really? I didn't know that. That's cool.
And so with it, in the Japanese version, it was intense because Weevil was playing and saying that, oh, I'm going to basically rip up your friend's life. Their friend's souls got trapped in the card or whatever. Ripping him up. It pissed off Yami. And literally, Yami went hard. There's a clip on YouTube where literally he kills Weevil and he keeps killing him. Like his life points are already like, he's like, and freaking Yami's like, no, I ain't stopping. I am literally, dude, train wreck. Just all right, cool. Just keep attacking. And then, I forget her name in Japanese, but Taya basically has to pull Yami back. It's like, no, stop. He's already dead. And literally, you just see Weevil go.
That's crazy, because that definitely
Yeah.
makes the show a lot better, though, because the higher stakes, whenever there's high stakes of obviously death, that definitely makes it more tense. So I didn't know that they actually censored that for the American one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, if you ever, before I get into my favorite, if you ever watched Yu-Gi-Oh before I think there was a Yu-Gi-Oh season 0 where Yami, like, he doesn't just play card games, but he's playing like multiple different kind of games. It's literally, he's the king of games, playing every kind of game against other people. And every time he would defeat somebody, it would, just like you were saying, like, he would kill them, light them on fire.
That's crazy.
Like all kinds of, like, whatever the game was, that, like, if it was like, one of those games
And they
where
say
you like
anime
put
is
your hand
just
on
a
the table and
cartoon.
you stab them to your finger, it was like a game like that, and Yami would win, like he would stab the
Oh
freaking
my god.
knife through your finger, like,
He's
oh, you lost.
nice. All right, cool, bam, you did.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a part of the season, this from Duelist Kingdom, that's probably one of my favorite and probably one of the most emotional, at least for me, like, that really shows Yami, like, really willing to take the next step and willing to kill somebody to win. And that was when him versus Kaiba on top of the castle. When Kaiba steps back.
I gotta do they have that on Netflix or something? I wouldn't mind rewatching.
It's on Netflix. Yeah, I think it's on Netflix.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Where
Oh my
Kaiba
God.
steps onto the ledge and
Mm-hmm.
basically telling Yami, if you attack me, I can fall and die. And Yami, was kind of like that Japanese anime style. Like, he was willing to take the next step, but Yugi, being the good person he was, told him to stop and lose. And I thought that was really cool, emotional thing that they put in the anime for kids.
Man, that moment, Kaiba's a bitch right there, dude.
Oh
Man,
yeah, for
you
sure.
better give up.
And
Or I'm gonna
for
kill
the
myself.
non-anime fans out here, don't call anime a cartoon.
Yeah, they're two
So that was-
separate entities.
Yep. Yeah. So that was a good scene. So how about you, Jeff? Finish it off.
Well, I already said my recommended game. What about Vu? I mean, I'm sorry,
No.
Ron.
I mean, I'm talking about your favorite.
Favorite episode of
whatever.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
See, I don't
Yeah.
remember any of my favorite, but probably one of my favorite moments of it would be, I think for me, I kind of had I was one of those fans of Kaiba. Kaiba's kind of like the Vegeta to Yugi's Goku,
Definitely.
so I always kind of liked him and in his struggles. So a lot of scenes that from him was memorable for me, but not particularly top of my head that I remember a scene, because I watched a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, but it's just been too long. What about you, Ron?
I think I already said my I think the different ones, but I think in Japanese, if I want to go back and watch it in Japanese because it's more intense. Like RJ's talking in the chat, when I remember in the English version, basically Bakura is fighting Pegasus, and Pegasus ends up, and at this point, I think in Duelist Kingdom, Bakura is going around and collecting the Millennium items. And so he beats in the American version, he beats Pegasus and takes the eye, but we don't see
Mhm.
anything after that. But in the Japanese
Mm.
version, RJ is saying that, and he Bakura kills Pegasus, snatches his eye out of his actual snatches his eye, and he
Yep.
kills Pegasus. So I'm like, oh, okay, spicy.
Yeah, the
But yeah.
Japanese version is nasty. It's just like Pokemon too. If you ever read the original Japanese Pokemon manga, also
Yeah.
super dark. Pokemon
Good.
dying, cut in half,
Oh
all kind of
man,
crazy stuff. So
Yep.
Japanese people are a little crazy. Americans made everything super soft. So
way too soft in America, man. Too much censorship.
Crunchyroll. All right. So yeah, if you listeners are out there, if you have a Crunchyroll premium membership, you can watch all of Yu-Gi-Oh from season 1. Well, actually all of Yu-Gi-Oh, I
Uncensored
believe.
too?
I think you can watch it in Japanese audio.
Oh,
The
okay.
subtitle.
I'm already
I think it
watching
comes on
Tower of
Hulu,
God
too.
on Crunchyroll right now.
There you go. Right
Oh,
on.
nice.
But
All
yes. But yeah, I think that's all the time we have this week. Like I said, we definitely recommend some cool stuff. So check it out, especially if you have PlayStation Plus. Fall Guys is free. PSO2 Genesis is coming on the Xbox. So you have a Japanese game on an American console. Final Fantasy 14, Final Fantasy 11.
Yep.
And then you've got, some old school Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want to catch up on watching some anime. So
For
a lot of good
sure.
stuff here. A lot of good stuff to keep you busy during the
Keep you
week.
busy during this lockdown.
Yep. But yeah, other than that, boys, shout out to your social links like always.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, you can catch me on 350Z Time. I've been streaming a lot of the games I've been talking about today, so if you want to check it out, throw your boy a follow, say hi, whatever. I appreciate it. You could also find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well on 350Z Time.
Right
Nice.
on.
You guys catch me on Instagram, Twitch, Roll_F. That's
Yep.
it. Ron?
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as me, you can always find me here at Ron Kauanoe. I am literally on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you want to potentially talk about business/sponsorship opportunities, my DMs are open. Hit me up, definitely for sure. But yeah, as far as the podcast goes, you can find us going live every Sunday on Twitch at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/HTC Podcast. If you like what you see, recommend us to your friends. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You can tell what all the smart devices, Alexa, Siri, Google. You can say, hey, play the Hyperbolic Time Chamber Podcast. I know it's a mouthful. I can't say it sometimes.
Yep.
But yeah, and of course, if you guys do like the visual stuff and you want to see the live stream, you got some time, we are on YouTube. We upload it on our YouTube channel, so you can catch up on last week's episode. But yeah, other than that, it's youtube.com, I think /Hyperbolic Time Chamber Podcast.
You can just search up Hyperbolic Time Chamber Podcast. It'll pop up. Same logo and everything. And if you are feeling generous as well, you could subscribe to us on Anchor for as low as $1 a month, and you can support the podcast that way as well.
So we can keep buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards and talking
so we
about
can buy more Yu-Gi-Oh cards to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on what we should do, potentially
you
sort
can
of
leave it in the
with
comments
live
on
stream,
YouTube as well.
leave it in the comments for sure. So, but yeah, other than that, that's all we have this week. Until next time, hopefully we'll see you guys in Fall Guys. But yeah, until next time, guys.
We'll see you.
Peace.
Peace out.